the same way, except that the manipulation takes the form of an outrageous lie. Of course, as we'll see throughout this book, the manipulations performed by researchers also frequently involve deception. Experimenters sometimes rehearse for days, perfecting the elaborate ruses they're going to foist on their unsuspecting subjects. In these cases, the line separating hoaxes and experiments is almost indistinguishable. The big difference between hoaxes and bizarre experiments is that experimenters wrap themselves in the authority of science. They claim as their motive the desire to advance knowledge, whereas hoaxers are often just trying to get a laugh or perpetrate a scam. This sense of gravity is what lends bizarre experiments their particularly surreal quality. It's that odd combination of apparent seriousness, white lab coat-wearing researchers toiling dispassionately to further the limits of knowledge, mixed with a hint of mischief, eccentricity, or in some cases, seeming insanity that provides the frisson of weirdness. To preserve this effect, I've avoided including any experiments conducted in a spirit of jest. All the research in the following pages was undertaken quite seriously. To me, this makes these stories all the more fascinating. Let me wrap up these introductory remarks by addressing a few questions that may occur to you as you read this book. Hey, where are the Nazis? I wouldn't mention this, except that the Nazi death camp experiments are apparently what many people think of first when the subject of bizarre experiments comes up. At least whenever I told people I was writing a book about bizarre experiments, the most common response I received was, "You mean like the Nazi experiments?" I have not included any Nazi research in this book. First, because I didn't intend the book to be a catalog of atrocities. Second, because I wanted to explore actual scientific research, not sadistic torture disguised as science, which is what I consider the Nazi experiments to be. How can one distinguish between the two? A couple of guidelines suggest themselves. First, once an experimenter starts purposefully killing people, his research instantly ceases to be legitimate. The second rule is more subtle. Genuine scientists publish their work. When a researcher submits his work for publication, he offers it up to the scrutiny of the scientific community. And when an established, respected journal accepts the submission, this suggests other scientists agree it deserves wider dissemination and consideration. It doesn't mean the work is good science or ethically justified, especially when judged by present-day standards, but it does mean that, for better or worse, the research cannot be denied a place in the history of science. Sometimes extenuating circumstances prevent a researcher from publishing his work, but 99% of the time, the publication rule is a useful guideline for identifying real science. Where's my favorite bizarre experiment? Maybe there's a bizarre experiment that's a particular favorite of yours, and you discover that, it isn't in here. It could happen. The book format does not permit unlimited space. Forced to pick and choose from a wide field of possibilities, I ultimately settled on 10 themes, each of which became the focus of a chapter. If an experiment didn't relate to one of these themes, I put it aside. How can I find out more about an experiment? I don't dwell too long on any one subject. If all went as planned, this should make the book fast-paced and easy to read. I hope that people who wouldn't normally read a book about science might enjoy these stories. I joke that it's a toilet reader's guide to science, which is why I have included Chapter 8 specifically for this audience. This format means that each vignette presents a condensed account of what is often a very complex subject. I've placed a single reference at the end of each vignette. This reminds you that the story you just read is real. I wasn't making it up. But I've also provided additional references at the end of the book so that readers can pursue in greater depth any topic that whets their interest. One more comment, then I'll let you get on to the good stuff, the experiments. Although this book may, at first glance, resemble a kind of circus parade of oddities, led by an elephant on acid, no less, my intention is not to trivialize scientific research or the experimenters who appear in the following